Well, I had heard, I was at a garden conference, and when I was a little girl, I always liked the thought of planting wild things, but I was told, by my mom that you didn't do that. And so I went to a garden conference with my mom, ironically, who wasn't a gardener, but and these authors were giving a lecture on planting wild things in your yard. So I went to that talk, and I walked in, and lo and behold, they were saying it's okay to plant this stuff in your yard. You could do it. So here I was, like 20-something years later, being told it's okay. So
Yeah.
I wound up getting to know them, and they came into Longview to do a book tour, and so I worked at the newspaper at the time, and so I asked them for an interview, and so we wound up with a private luncheon, and the young woman who also worked at the bookstore said, "Hey, I had joined the Native Plant Society because they talked about it." She joined it too, but the closest chapter was in Tyler, and we couldn't drive over there if we got off work. It was just too long of a day. And so the man, the husband of this author couple, said, "Well, won't you just make your own couple, start your own chapter?" And we both said, "We can't do that. We don't know anything about natives." I knew what a pine tree was, and that's about all I knew. And so he says, "You'll learn. And so we promised we'll come back. If you want to do this, we'll come back and we'll help you. We'll talk. We'll give a lecture, and we'll help you start it." And so a few months rolled around, and we did that. That was the spring of 95. Well, the thing about native plants is that, especially with the environmental concerns that people have today, is that once a native plant gets established, you're not going to have to go out there and water that thing all day long and baby it, because you're going to plant them where they need to go, and they're drought resistant. So they withstand our heat better because they're programmed to just live in East Texas. So Texas, I guess just to say. So they take our heat, they take our cold, the temperature extremes. They're more disease resistant. They're pest tolerant. So there's, all around, it's just more common sense. I tell people gardening with native plants is gardening with nature instead of against nature.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, you're using fewer pesticides, so you don't have to go out there and you don't have to risk harming the environment. Hopefully you're designing your landscape with native plants, so you're not having to mow as often. You're not as much pollution going into the air. It's just all around common sense. We've done several things over the years. We've had demonstration gardens here and there. We've planted wildflowers along the interstate highway. We've had a demonstration garden here in Longview. We've had one at Dangerfield State Park over the years. We've helped the organization put on 2 symposiums, and one of them was here in Longview, and that one was an amazing symposium. We showed off East Texas hospitality to an extreme. We've donated books to local libraries. The name of our chapter is the Northeast Texas chapter. It's not the Longview chapter. We intentionally named it the Northeast Texas chapter because we wanted to be a regional chapter. So at one point in time, back in the early days, we had members from, of course, I lived in Dangerfield. So Dangerfield, we had Marshall, we had Gilmer, we had Tatum, we had Mount Pleasant, Omaha. We had members from all over. Kilgore, Henderson. And so if we had a member, we donated a book to that library about native plants. We made sure that the public represented by that member had access to this information. That was before the internet. We're learning it ourselves, and we're trying to convey that information in a way that makes sense to common everyday people, because we don't necessarily speak a lot of the language that some of the scientists speak, but we can speak to the people who are in our churches or our other clubs, and so we can speak to them on their level, and that's what we've tried to do all this time.
Yeah.
What they have to learn is a great way to garden, an easier way to garden, a more stress-free way to garden, to help take care of the environment. That's what they have to learn. They come, visit here, and they'll make some great friends. I mean, there's people in there who have been my friends now for 30 years because I met them 30 years ago.
You're
And
right.
so literally I've made lifelong friendships. The organization itself has changed. I know one of the other charter members, when we were doing the planning, we were of course going through old rosters and trying to find former members so we can contact and make sure that they knew about today. And we were talking about how the seasons of the chapter have changed, just different people, the ebbs and flows and different people, and people's lives change. A lot of our members are not here with us anymore. My parents were charter members and they're gone. A lot of our charter members are gone. It's been 30 years. But so there's a season, but at the same time it's still exciting because it's literally changed. It's changed my life and it's changed the life of a lot of those people in that room in there.
What's the hope for y'all's future?
Well, we want to keep growing. We want to get this message out, especially with we still have these environmental concerns. So many people are interested in homesteading and living a sustainable lifestyle. Native plants go hand in glove with that. I mean, this is the way you do that, is that you learn about native plants and you stop going out there and putting plants in your landscape that don't want to be there. They're from some other country. You have to pet them and pamper them all summer long. Plant with a native plant. So you're just gonna make your life a whole lot easier.